Queen Elizabeth I, the monarch who had once been hailed as the Virgin Queen, the beautiful, powerful figure who captured the hearts of her people and led England to greatness, found her final days to be a cruel and painful contrast to the radiant queen she had been. In her last months, she was reduced to a fragile, aging figure, a once great queen now physically ravaged by time, illness, and the toll of a long reign. Born on September 7th, 1533, to King Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn, Elizabeth's path to the throne was far from guaranteed. Her early life was marked by turmoil, scandal, and intrigue, and she would grow up in the shadow of her father's ever-changing fortunes. As a child, Elizabeth's life was shaped by the whirlwind of political upheaval surrounding her father's reign. When her mother, Anne Boleyn, was executed for treason in 1536, Elizabeth was declared illegitimate, her status as heir to the throne removed. But even as the crown seemed to slip further from her grasp, fate would have a different plan for young Elizabeth. Elizabeth's survival in the turbulent world of the Tudor court was nothing short of remarkable. Her half-brother, Edward VI, ruled as king until his untimely death in 1553. Elizabeth's sister, Mary I, took the throne next, and under Mary's reign, Elizabeth found herself imprisoned in the Tower of London, accused of plotting against her sister's Catholic regime. Despite the threats to her life, Elizabeth's resilience and intelligence allowed her to navigate these dangerous waters. When Queen Mary died in 1558, Elizabeth was named her successor. At just 25 years old, Elizabeth ascended to the throne as the ruler of England. Her ascension to the throne was not just the result of bloodline, but the culmination of years of surviving the deadly intrigues of the court. She became a queen who would forever change the course of English history. Her rise was a triumph of intellect, grace, and unyielding determination. In her youth, Elizabeth's beauty was legendary, her skin unblemished, her face a symbol of youth and vitality. But over the years, the ravages of illness, age, and the burdens of power took their toll. Elizabeth's once flawless skin bore the scars of smallpox, the disfiguring disease she contracted as a young woman, leaving marks that would haunt her for the rest of her life. By the time her reign reached its twilight, she had become a pale shadow of her former self, her beauty gone, replaced by the grotesque effects of disease and time. Smallpox, which Elizabeth survived as a young woman, left permanent scars on her face and body. These disfigurements, once hidden beneath layers of royal makeup and ceremonial grandeur, now became visible signs of the toll her long life had taken. By the end of her life, she was no longer the beautiful young queen who had captivated the world. She was a frail, sickly monarch clinging to life, unable to escape the aging process and the diseases that ravaged her. As Elizabeth's body betrayed her, the court, once bustling with the energy and excitement of a powerful queen, fell into dread. Advisors and courtiers who had once looked to her for strength and wisdom now saw a woman who could barely keep her head up, a monarch who struggled to sit up, let alone govern. The woman who had once commanded respect with a single glance now had to rely on the mercy of her court, and they too were helpless to prevent the inevitable. The fear at court was palpable. Elizabeth had ruled with an iron will, yet now that will seemed to be no match for her failing body. The courtiers, who once admired her grace and strength, now witnessed her vulnerability. For them, it was a painful reminder that even the greatest of rulers are mortal. As Elizabeth's body continued to fail her, her isolation deepened. She had spent her life rejecting marriage and the idea of an heir, choosing instead to maintain control of the throne. But in her final days, those choices left her alone. She had no children, no spouse, and no clear successor. The once powerful queen, who had controlled the fate of an empire, now faced death in solitude. Her only companions were her physicians and advisors, and even they could do little to help her. The loneliness in her final days is one of the most tragic aspects of her story. Having sacrificed everything for the crown, she had no one to lean on in her final moments. Her reign, though remarkable, came at the cost of her personal life, and as she lay dying, she faced not only the loss of her body, but the crushing isolation that accompanied it. As if the physical toll of illness and age wasn't enough, Elizabeth's body was plagued by swelling, fever, and infections in her final months. The combination of these ailments began to produce an odor that even her attendants found difficult to bear. Her attendants, once dedicated to serving her, began to distance themselves as the stench grew unbearable. This was not just the body of a queen in decline, it was a body marked by the horrors of disease, festering under layers of illness and decay. Elizabeth's last words were not those of a monarch who had reconciled with her fate. In her final moments, she was desperate for more time, for one more moment to correct the wrongs of her long reign. "All my possessions for a moment of time," she whispered, an anguished plea from a woman who had once been the most powerful person in England, but now had nothing left but her suffering. Her last words reflect a deep regret and the crushing realization that all her wealth and power could not buy her one more moment of life. The irony is unbearable. After spending a lifetime securing her reign, Elizabeth found herself helpless against the most powerful force of all, death. The morning of March the 24th, 1603, came with the dreadful realization that Elizabeth was no longer struggling to hold on. Her body, having endured so much, finally gave way. Her final breaths were not peaceful. They were a desperate struggle for air, a final attempt to hang on to life, but it was futile. Elizabeth had fought for her kingdom, her power, and her place in history, but in the end, even her indomitable spirit could not defeat the inevitable. The struggle for breath, the frantic gasping, was a grim moment. It was a stark reminder that no matter how great a monarch, death comes for everyone. No one escapes it. For Elizabeth, it was the final battle she could not win. The news of Elizabeth's death sent shockwaves throughout England. Her passing marked the end of an era, the end of the Tudor dynasty. The future was uncertain. James VI of Scotland was named as her successor, but the transition was fraught with tension. England now faced the uncertainty of a new monarch, one who was foreign to them and who had to prove himself worthy of the throne Elizabeth had kept secure for so many years. The transition was not without its challenges. England was facing not just a change in leadership, but the potential collapse of the stability Elizabeth had worked so hard to maintain. James I was untested, and the fear of instability was very real. Elizabeth's reign was not without its horrors. She had ordered the executions of rivals, led her country through bloody religious conflicts, and made difficult decisions that affected the lives of thousands. Her legacy was one of power, but also of sacrifice, sacrifices that came at the cost of bloodshed and at times her own peace of mind. While Elizabeth is remembered for her triumphs, it's important to acknowledge the darker side of her rule. The Spanish Armada, the executions of Mary, Queen of Scots, and the bloody religious battles all left scars on the nation and on Elizabeth herself. Her legacy is intertwined with both glory and suffering. Elizabeth's death was the end of the Tudor dynasty, but it also marked a turning point for England. The nation she had built was left in the hands of her successor, an uncertain future looming ahead. But Elizabeth I, despite her physical decline, will forever remain a symbol of strength, resilience, and the price of power. Though she is gone, Elizabeth I's legacy remains. Her story is one of triumph and tragedy, and it will forever echo through the halls of history. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more historical deep dives into the lives of the world's most fascinating figures.